Okay. Well, I appreciate you ladies for joining in. And like I said, we're going to go over, I'm going to go over some of the details of the blogging ebook, but it's more today is just to kind of get you thinking about if you are blogging, are you blogging efficiently? Are you, because blogging can have such a nice effect to your marketing, and you might not even realize what you're missing in your business without blogging. You might think that it's not a big deal, because I know a lot of you'll get photographers who kind of fall into there's two different kinds. Maybe you might say, well, my business is already running great, and I don't even have anything going. I just have a Facebook page, or I just have whatever, and it's all word of mouth, and I really don't need anything else. That's great, but I would challenge you on that front but what else could you be getting? Just because you think you have a great business running, and you very possibly you do, but what else could you be getting? And you might be able to restructure your business a little bit to work, because on the other hand, a lot of photographers are upset or they get swamped in certain areas of the year. And what this could do for you is really just restructure your business to be able to get more out of your business and being able to have maybe some of your life back. And I know you think, well, with blogging, but that's going to take up so much of my time. It really isn't going to, if you do it appropriately. And if you show yourself some grace on making errors, because we're all going to make errors. And if you plan out accordingly, if you don't overcommit and you have a schedule, it definitely can work. You don't have to put a lot of money into blogging. I know that's another thing people worry about. They don't have the finances for it. Actually, Trisha was one of the ladies who I believe she just had went up and just signed up she signed up for the free WordPress, just something to kind of get yourself going. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be perfect from the get-go. And I know I myself am so hard with that you think you have to be perfect, before you can get started. Really just get started, because if you wait for something to be perfect, that will never happen. So I don't want anybody to think that blogging can't be done for them, that you don't have the time for it, because I'm going to try to, between maybe some questions today and then when you get the ebook, hopefully it kind of opens up some doors and some paths for you that you didn't even see that were there in your business. So I am going to screen share here. I think I'm actually just going to screen share through, what do we have to that? Okay. All right. I'm going to shrink you down here. Okay, so the whole point of the ebook is to build a brand. And it's just like with social media, blogging is no different. You are building a brand while you're doing it. You are connecting with your readers. There's so much more to blogging than people, I think, really even think about. And that is what I really, pull up chat here in case you guys have questions. Anybody can unmute themselves. Most people stay muted because of interference noise. You can unmute yourself at any point, ask questions. You can type them in the chat. I'll try to pay attention to both here. So if you have questions, make sure you interrupt me. Okay. It's over here to the side. It's kind of hard to get everything aligned right. Okay, so I want you to think about, again, blogging as being able to connect with your readers, connect with potential clients, and really letting your social media do some of the blogging or do some of the business building for you. So before you really with blogging, at the very beginning of my ebook, I have in here like an introduction to myself. And if any of you have followed along with me, you know that business was not my dream goal. Photography was not my dream goal. I was not one of those people who says oh, from the age of 5, I've had a camera in my hand and I always knew I wanted to be a photographer. That really wasn't me. I was artistic. My dad was artistic. I did like doing things like that, but it was never a dream goal. Hence why I was an MRI tech for 5 years before I even started this. So I'm definitely not the cliche of of photographers where, you know, they say that. It's definitely something I kind of fell into, as far as I was definitely one of those people who thought, well, I'll just take, you know, $75 a session. I can do 2 sessions a week. And, you know, definitely one of those. So we each have our own beginnings. And I think our own beginnings really make us unique, and it makes us who we are. I've definitely embraced my beginnings, and I really truly believe that how you begin in your business really just makes you a better person and better business person, woman in the end. So I definitely make sure I share that with people, because it's not, you know, a lot of people say, what, the blog's so successful, how did you do it? Lots of trial and error. This was nothing that, you know, I had dreamed up since I was, you know, a little girl, that I wanted to have all this. It definitely was not. That was definitely not me. So the blog itself, so Beyond Wanderlust, is in its 4th year, and it has had, I started it on the premonition of including people. We didn't want, there was a lot of people, there were some other blogs in the industry that you really had to be somebody to be featured, or, you know, to get recognition, you had to have a name, people had to know who you are. And that's never been my goal. I've never wanted it to be like that. I've always wanted it to be talent driven. And if you had an amazing image, I don't care if I've never heard of your name, you will get featured. It's always ran that way. And actually, at the very beginning of starting the blog, we had a lady who had shared an image on the Facebook page, and it was an amazing image. I wish I could remember who it was, but gosh, it is literally right when we started. And we'd shared it. She had like over 2,000 likes. And that was insane back then, even especially because we were like just starting. So we were probably under like 5,000 likes on Facebook. And it was just amazing. It was seriously just a mom who just shared her image, and it was amazing. It's been so amazing to see people's businesses bloom. So it's really, like I said, in my beginning of the ebook, it talks about my introduction into how I got started, and what blogging has given my family. It's really allowed me to be able to stay home and help with the kids. You always say as your kids get older that you're going to have more free time. I actually think that was a lie that parents tell you, but it's not. It's gotten probably more busy the older my kids have got. And it's really, I know, April, isn't it a lie? I swear it's a lie. Every time I'm like, okay, well, my kids just need to get into school. Things will slow down. No, things have just gotten more busy because I go in the classroom and I help volunteer, and my boys are in 3 and 4 sports each. It is insane at our house. So my husband's workload is extremely intense as well. He is on call every other week. And what blogging has been able to do is it makes me here. It makes me available. Now, as my businesses grow, I become less available, but I still have the liberty to be able to structure my business day how I want. So the same thing is for blogging. You can, I highly recommend for a lot of people who are starting out with blogging to do, and I talk about it in the ebook, to do bulk or draft your blog post. Now, if you really, so there's kind of 2 circles really to it. If you start blogging and you start researching stuff, you get kind of overwhelmed on some fronts, because you want to try to stay within like your photography circle world, and you want to kind of go into the blogging community. And they're 2 different things. They're completely 2 different things. If you're wanting to get and connect with other bloggers, not just other photographers, other bloggers. And so if you really kind of dive into those world of blogging, you'll find a lot of them have, and I push this too, is an editorial calendar. They know what they're going to be blogging. And some of them, oh my gosh, up to 6 months, they know what they're going to be blogging. So when you, and there's lots of ideas, and I would love to brainstorm with anybody if they had a question, but moving forward, I'm saying, you know, let's say in a month you're starting your blog out. If you have questions, it'd be great to see it in the group. But the, you can, as you're booking clients, you can, you know, automatically have your calendar up, and you can start sketching in, okay, I know I'm going to have their session done by here. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do the copy, the wording in the post on this day. I'm going to go in. I'm going to put the images on this day, and it's going to be live on this day. You can really schedule it down to the T, or you can say every Sunday night, we're free. I'm free from, 8 to 10. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to blog as much as I can. And even if you're blogging like a month ahead of time, and that's another thing I would recommend, would maybe be starting out, not, okay, let's say I really want to get blogging. I'm going to start April 1st. That might be setting yourself up for failure. So I would look at it from the perspective of, I want to start blogging. I'm going to give myself 30 days to really understand some of this stuff. And let's say that this is 30 days from you actually already have a blog. If you don't have a blog, I'd probably give yourself a little bit more grace period time to kind of get things set up. But if you already have a blog and you just really want to jump back into blogging, I would give yourself 30 days to kind of set up a calendar, figure out what you want to be blogging, and that way you're not setting yourself up for failure, because that is the biggest thing. And I talk about that a lot in the ebook. Setting yourself up for failure is it's a sure way just to stop, because you're just going to get frustrated. So, but in my book, I talk about, each of my kids. And my first kid, I never had the dream of staying home. My second child, I still had no dream of staying home, but something kind of clicked in me with the third baby that I decided, that the workplace had changed, things were changing. And I just didn't find myself in it anymore. And I never want to be into something that I can tell my heart's not in, especially when you're dealing with people in healthcare, because it's so crucial to really have your heart be at work. And so I've been able to help people just from a different perspective. Instead of helping people with their health, I get to help people with their businesses. So it's been nice. It's definitely good to be able to find yourself in whatever you're doing. All right, let me flip through here. So really a lot of it I talk about in here is discovering your why. And like I said, I'm going to put this into the blog so you guys will be able to download it and you'll be able to print it. And really what you need to decide from this is, what do you want from your business? Everybody has a different goal. Some people don't want to have a business, and and that's fine. You can still have a brand without having a business. And that's very important to think about. You can still have tons of opportunities, even as quote unquote, just a mom with her camera. I really honestly hate that term, but there's so many opportunities that you can have as an artist who is not accepting clients. There are so many stock photography sites. There are brands that are searching social media just for artists for their storytelling. Storytelling has become such a huge proponent in marketing that by not putting yourself out there, you really could be missing out on money just from that perspective alone. It is really amazing what the 2017 artist has available to them. And by being able to discover what you want for your business or for your brand is extremely important. If you do not want any of that, then that's a pretty clear answer for you. Then you probably shouldn't even think about building a brand or a blog. It could be a thing too, where you want to have a blog because you want to be able to be proud of your work. You want to display your work. And let's say you have family that's not even close by. That's another great thing. It's a great connecting tool. It is great to be able to look back at self-reflection. You can look back and see where you've grown in your business. I always say to people who, are really frustrated in their work and they haven't grown, if you have a Facebook page, I want you to click on your most recent image and I want you to go left. That is always, always, always going to put you back into perspective of, yes, you have grown. Yes, you're moving in the right direction. Some days it doesn't feel like it because you're, one step forward, two step back type of thing. But I promise you are growing. Let me see here. Yeah, so definitely figuring out what you want from your business. So maybe when you print this out, jotting that down, figuring it out. You can, maybe bullet points. And that might take a while because really discovering your why is a pretty deep thought. It's not something that you're probably going to be able to sit down and discover in a day. This would be a great time to kind of look maybe at other artists that you really like from their business. It's just kind of like when you're building your brand, when you're going through branding, they'll say, look at 10 other brands and just tell me, what did you like about those? Well, you're not copying those brands. You're just trying to figure out what it is in there that you're drawn to. And I'm sure everybody has their own artists that they're drawn to, and what is it that you're drawn to? Do you like the fact that they have the liberty that they're being able to go out and explore all these amazing areas? Do you like the fact that they're working with these amazing brands? Do you like that they have an awesome offset gallery? I mean, there's so many different things that you could really get from your photography. So just making sure you understand what it is that you're wanting. And what type of relationship do you want with your readers? So if you, there's multiple things that you could do. I know some people share anything and everything they can about themselves because they really want to connect with their readers. They want it to be a very intimate experience for them because so much of what you do on social media is really all about building a rapport with your audience and having them connect with you. Now, at some point, I know some people say that that gets very creepy. They've had people in their close communities that have noticed their children. They know them out in public. They've had people stop and like be waiting by their car for them. So that is definitely something to think about while you're thinking of what kind of relationship you want to have. For myself, my business is kind of unique in the fact that I don't really have to share my children because my blog's not really about me. Now I have my personal blog that I really just have for my stock portfolios. So again, I'm really not actively blogging over there, but I don't shy away from the fact of sharing about my life, but I don't go overly personal. Now you'll have plenty of brands out there that they are their brand. You could probably know what they're doing almost every minute of the day. There is no right or wrong on that. It is just whatever you are comfortable with. I do find that the people that share probably the most with their readers really are engaged with their life. And that is what you're really doing with social media and with blogging is you're really making yourself known as, oh, I need a family photographer, thinking from the client perspective. Who is that person that I follow? Oh yeah, that's so-and-so. Man, I really love her. She is so funny. Or I really like following her family on, Instagram. I'm going to check her out and see what her prices are like. So that's really what it is about, is just having that presence there to connect the dots for when they're ready for business. Some of the stuff that we're putting into our business is not something that is you're going to be able to gain your rewards right away. You're not. This is putting a lot out there to then at some point be able to come back and gain on it. It's just basically like building this big web that you're just hoping someday somebody kind of comes back into. Okay. So if you could outline the ideal career, what would it look like for you? Are you building it right now? For myself, yes. I want to teach people about their businesses and being able to give themselves the liberty to be able to either stay home, be able to recognize that they have an amazing talent, be able to leave the job that they don't like, that they're just keeping because of money. And it could be for even the artist who's like, I'm so swamped. I want to be able to help them be able to rectify that in their schedules, being able to maybe raise their prices a little bit, cut back on some of the sessions that they take, and come back to their family lives a little bit. We should always be in the mindset of running our own business and not letting the business run us. So that's what a lot of these reflection questions are, is to help you just see what you're wanting, making sure you're on the right target. And really important, and I talk about this in the ebook, is make sure that you're always changing your goals too. My marketing goal from now, even 6 months ago to even at the very beginning, has changed every step of the way. So when you are setting out your business goals and your blogging goals, make sure they're reflective of where you're at in your life. You could change so much in just a 30-day period that by having an old marketing plan or holding yourself accountable to one set of analytics that you decided really could, it could really hurt your business. And I don't, so much of self-employment and being an artist is so hard emotionally that you need to cut yourself a break where you can. Putting yourself through the ringer when it's not necessary it's not healthy. And a lot of this with business is just making sure that you're treating yourself well And I'm not always the best at that either. But that's definitely something that we all need to make sure that we're doing well. And then next question would be, can you see a clear and effective marketing plan with the content that you're currently producing? Okay, think about this even as, let's say, but I don't have a blog. What are you talking about? What marketing plan I have? Okay, well, go back through like your Instagram or go back through your Facebook. What are you putting out there? How are you talking to your readers? What kind of content are you putting out? How much are you putting out? That is all part of your marketing plan. And or brand voice. That's all a part of that. Sometimes, I feel like brand voice and your branding and marketing plan the lines can kind of blur, especially if you don't have a quote unquote business. But that is all a part of what you are producing. It is all a part of your little box, your little square that your business is in. Okay, let me go down here. And then I left a little section for notes because I know that, it might be kind of nice to put out maybe, your notes. You could say, well, this is what I have right now. Maybe in 6 months, this is what I want. And just always continually kind of pushing yourself to what you might see. In the ebook, though, I talk about the history of blogging, and I'm telling you, it is crazy. If you're personal friends with me, you would have saw that I shared a video. It was from like NBC's Nightly News back in the 90s. And at the end of the segment, it said, if anybody has, what did it say? If anybody has experienced the World Wide Web, email us. And I'm just like, that is crazy to think if anybody has experience, if anybody has an account on the internet. It's amazing to see where we're at from the 90s to now. And back in the 90s, that's really just when blogging started. And in the book, I have some things to show you where blogs started, what they look like, and they were so cheesy. We have we are in the perfect age for business. We have so many resources at our fingertips, so many options for us that we can do. We're really quite lucky in that sense. Also in here, I talk about what it is that you're wanting, and as far as, money, because that is another aspect. If you are on like WordPress, such as I am, you can have, paid revenue that comes just from that, from views. If you want to crank out content that is specific to just, let's say, just Pinterest, because that is such a huge market, you can be making money just from that. So again, there's so many options for us in 2017 that we just didn't have available to us before. I talk about the basics a lot in the blogging ebook at the very beginning of it. I will let you know right off the get-go, I am a WordPress person. I'm not Squarespace. I really don't have, I do talk in here about some other things that you can start with, services such as Blogger or Wix. The things with those, and be careful. Again, if you want to get started just to get started, do it. Definitely don't hold back thinking that you're going to have this perfect startup. But on the same token, try to think in the future. If this business grows, and if I decide I want to put out more content, I want to get paid content at some point, I want to collaborate with other artists, then start thinking about where you might just want to be at the end. Putting out a little bit of content that you're going to have to pay for at one point might be more beneficial to you in the long run, because, and I've never had to deal with it, but I've heard horror stories of people who started out on free websites. They went to go transfer their content over and it didn't transfer. And then they lost all this content. And I just would hate, I have it in there because I would just hate for that to happen to anybody else. Again, it didn't happen to myself, but it's definitely something to be aware of and something to look forward to, like to be researching when you are deciding what is for you. How is this going to migrate over? And some services such as, Bluehost and GoDaddy, they will do that service for you. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. And I have that in here too. I use both actually. I have Bluehost for my personal blog and I have GoDaddy for both of my blogs for my businesses. Both of them are fine. You just really have to decide what's for you. A great thing is to I always, look at user-friendly services. How is their social media presence? More on that front as to what does it look like on their social media. If you go to someone's Facebook page and it's complaint after complaint after complaint, they might not be the best business for you. So definitely just checking out, and friends, another thing too, like who your friends using. It's always kind of nice to be able to have somebody to ask a question to. And if they're not using the service, they can't help you. GoDaddy hasn't been bad. It's definitely, it's fit my business. There's definitely been some low points for it. And I talk about that in the ebook as well. So, but I'm not going to go into on depth here. I also talk in the ebook a little bit about SEO, about picking your website. And again, I'm not going to go into it super, super deep here. I don't go into it super, super deep in the ebook, but because I definitely want to put something out in the future on that. But it does talk a little bit about when you're setting it up and making sure that you pick something that is efficient moving forward. I'm going to flip through some of this other stuff. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to be working with a purpose here. And that kind of goes into like what I was just talking about. What kind of blog format are you drawn to? This would be a great thing too, to go look at some of the artists that you like, look at their website. What are they producing with? Right now, Squarespace is really hot. People are really liking the look of Squarespace. They think it's super sleek and it's very hipster. A lot of people are liking it. If you go into groups like Looks Like Film, a lot of them are using Squarespace. Squarespace is very hot and heavy right now in the podcast world. So they are really pushing their marketing efforts on multiple areas. I started with ProPhoto. When I started my business 4 or 5 years ago, ProPhoto was the thing. I still really love ProPhoto. And I have ProPhoto with Beyond the Wonderlust. I do not with the Narrative Society. That is something I definitely want to make sure I have out there. It is not something I have with the Narrative Society because it was a super integrated process. And for the work that had to be done on that site, ProPhoto was not going to be effective with it. But that being said, most people are not going into that deep of work, and it would be fantastic for it's fantastic in the way that it's super easy with coding. They have kept up with Squarespace as far as integrating some of their system, because some people would say that they really just didn't understand ProPhoto. They're both neck and neck now. So it really just depends on what look you like, what you're drawn to, because they do have a little bit of differences. But with ProPhoto 7, from what I've heard, I don't have ProPhoto 7, but I've heard that the benefits of what they've had, and I've heard this from some of my coding friends, they're really on par. So definitely when you're trying to decide what blogging format you're drawn to, check out some of your favorite artists, figure out what you're liking. Do you need anything fancy? Do you want certain sliders? Do you want certain galleries on there? And just making sure that the business that you're looking at would be able to provide that service for you. How often do you want to produce new content? So thinking forward, thinking about that editorial calendar, how often do you want to be producing content? You might only want to do it once a week. That's fine. There's nothing to say that you have to produce anything daily. I think that would definitely be that, and I talk about in here in the book, that's definitely something that would be setting yourself up for failure. Daily it's a lot. I do work daily, and it's a lot for me even 4 years later. So it's definitely just making sure that you are being reasonable with your time and not focusing so much on the blogging aspect and your website that you don't have time to go out and, let's say, shoot or cook dinner. So just make sure you're keeping it all in perspective. And you can have multiple areas. And in the book, I talk about different things that you can blog about. So you can have, client sessions. I would probably say, let's say if you wanted to say, I want to have one new content a week, I would have that be something that is reader based. So what I mean by that is it is something that is, it has your client and your reader in mind. So it is something that they are getting a benefit from. And reading through a session is not really a benefit to them. I always want to talk about the 70-20-10 rule. 70% of your content that you produce needs to be for your reader. I know that's a lot, but it needs to be. So much of what we do out there is asking for a sale. When you start flooding your page full of copy, and when I say copy, I mean the words that you're talking on your social media pages, the copy that we're putting out there is less than, and we are just going straight for the kill on all of our sales. That has essentially killed some of our organic marketing. A lot of people say, well, Facebook's just not there. I'm not getting anything. Some of that I'm going to hold you accountable, and that's back on you. And that is, if you've heard me speak, that is something I'm very passionate about. I know that some of what happens on social media, we don't have any control over it, but a lot of it we do. And it's about the time that we're posting. I have that in my ebook. It's about the voice we're using when we speak. I have that in my ebook. It's what kind of content you're putting out there, and is it effective? Again, I have that in my ebook. There's a lot of things that people aren't thinking about when they're thinking about, what do you want to see when you go to a business page? If you would flip roles and look at what you're producing and what you're putting out there, is it something that would engage you? If it's not, then it's not engaging your reader either. So think about your content, think about what you're wanting to put out there. Let me come down to the next one here. And another great thing is, do you have any content that you can recycle? There's nothing wrong with recycling content. You can have it come back. You could have, let's say, your top 10 spring list. Let's say you're a family photographer and you wanted to put out your top 10 spring outfit pieces. You could do that year after year and relink them to the past spring content. And that is such a great way to get people to stay on your website, clicking through, seeing past content, and then seeing some things where you could even link up within your content. Let's say you had a blog post that had the spring content, and let's say you had a jacket, and underneath it you could say, look at the Sampson family, and this mom wore the jacket, or this mom wore something that was very similar. Look at how well it pulled the family look together. Think about how many internal links you could get within that one post. That right there is SEO at its best. It is getting people engaged within your within your website, looking at new content, keeping them on there, and keeping your rate. I'm drawing a blank now. Keeping people on your website. Your bounce rate. There you go. Sorry, totally had a space moment there. But keeping your bounce rate low, because bounce rate, again, is something that, again, when Google is ranking your website, that is something that they're looking at. So just trying to think back through, thinking about what kind of content you have. That is another great thing with Pinterest, is if you're going to be repinning content, you want to see what is moving forward. You never really want to be working in the now. You always want to be working into the future. So if it's springtime right now, you could still do some spring stuff, maybe later spring, since it did just kind of get into spring. I would even lightly hit on spring, really start hitting towards summer, or hitting towards it's the end of school year type stuff. Just to start thinking ahead. And that is where your editorial calendar comes in extremely helpful, because you can really sit down and think about what it is. And I have that in my ebook. I have that in the back of it all for you. I have each of the months listed. You can write in there exactly what you want to blog about. And thinking big picture. So let's see the other thing here. Okay, and your brand voice. What brand voice do you have? Again, go back through your social media, look at how you're talking, look at what you're producing. Do your images match? They're not matched, but do you have a nice flow? Does your website presence, do your audience know who's speaking at them? That is always the biggest compliment as an artist, is when friends will say, oh, I had that image pop up in my feed and I didn't have to look at the name. I knew it was you. That is super important. And that is what is always a goal to work towards, having things pop up in people's feed and it being known that it's from you. It's always great. So just making sure it's kind of in there just to kind of help you think through if your marketing effects are kind of aligned. Okay, and growing to new levels. So in the book, I talk about benefits of blogging. There's so many benefits. Again, with the blogging, it takes time to build a reputation and become a brand that people can trust. That's not going to happen overnight. Same thing with Instagram. If you want to start growing a rapport with people online and really becoming somebody that people turn to for lifestyle tips or whatever, it's not going to happen overnight. Don't think that people. So for example, for me, Beyond the Wanderlust took way longer for me to build than the Narrative Society. When you already have a brand that people can trust, launching something else on top of that is not as hard as starting a business from the ground up. So if people are already following your business on Facebook, and you want to integrate Instagram or you want to integrate another service into that, you're going to have a lot easier time doing that than starting from the very beginning on something. I hope that makes sense. But so what platforms are you on right now? Think about what you're using. How often are you using it? And are you using it effectively? Are you getting good engagement? If you're not getting good engagement, the hardest thing is really to sit down and look at your business and think, what post am I getting great engagement on? What post am I not? Because the nots might not be worth your time. And that is the hardest thing, is to get real with yourself. Because let's say you do a daily follow of another artist. And let's say that follow is your favorite thing to do, but it gets you 0 engagement. Might be time to start thinking about something else to do, or how can you mix that up? And likewise, how could you maybe push that same thing that people are liking into another platform? How can you remold it to make it effective? I'm a huge proponent of not pushing content from one place to the other. That is a great way to kill your organic reach. It is a great way for things to get passed up. With Facebook right now, if something flows through and it doesn't get engaged with, it marks it as non-relevant. That is the worst thing to do for your organic reach. So making sure any content that you put out there is new content. Just think about that. If you had an artist you followed and you went to their Facebook page and it was this picture of their daughter doing whatever, you'd be like, oh, how cute. I love that. That's great. That's some of their best work. Then you go through on Instagram and you're like, oh yeah, I just saw that like 5 minutes ago. Cute, but yeah, okay, scroll. And then let's say you saw on other, you're bleeding the content out. If you want, there's great ways to be able to do that with your content without directly posting the same thing at the exact same time on all of your content. That is, again, why editorial calendar is so important, because you could take, and I have that calendar that you guys, hopefully everybody got it. I'll probably post that again somewhere. I'm trying to think where that is. Maybe I'll get it in the group, but it is so important that you can take one session and quote unquote bleed it out throughout the week, bleed it out within a couple weeks. And so people are seeing the same content, but they're getting a different perspective of the same content, and really using, I'm trying to think of different ways you could say it. I have to post in the group. I'm trying to think off the cuff here, but you could really just put a different perspective of the story on each platform. So just thinking about your different ways that you can story tell from the session. So connections are super, super important, and you'll get that a lot off your social media. Blogs, I feel like, are great to have your content there. Communication, I don't look at it as so much from blogging. People will comment on my blog and stuff, and I like that. But again, if I was looking to engage with somebody, I probably wouldn't go to my blog. I would probably go to like Facebook, or I'd go to Instagram. So it's definitely just keeping that in perspective of, where you're going to be getting engagement from people. And growing your social media. This is honestly the biggest thing. Get a drink here. It is the biggest thing to do with the blogging. I really changed up my marketing effect and my marketing plan probably beginning of this year. And I've really pushed a lot towards Pinterest. I'm actually right now getting out more sites, clicks, more views from Pinterest than I am from Facebook. And that wasn't done on mistake. I knew that I was not going to be able to maximize all of my reach on Facebook. It's just not going to happen. And I'm okay with that because that's their marketing plan. That's Facebook's plan. And I will pay when I need to. I'm not going to pay just to push my content out there. So I started thinking about different ways that I could. And Pinterest was definitely a way to find new readers that are looking for very specific content and being able to provide that content. Finding, family inspiration for sessions and tips and tutorials. There are a lot of things that I push that I get content from over at Pinterest. So I do talk about that in the book. This is a great way to be able to grow your social media and have your blog all working together. And I do have in here my analytics. I actually just had logged into Pinterest the other day, and this is really without putting a whole lot of, I've put back work into Pinterest, and I have some things automatically pinning on their own, but without even putting a ton of work into it, I have over 1 million views on Pinterest. So it's really important to start thinking about other places that your business could be seen. And Pinterest is huge. So definitely something important. I also have in here the benefits of working towards the future. We already kind of talked about that. But I do have in here an example. So let's say your goal is to make your clients' everyday life easier. Let's say you're a family photographer, and that's what you want to do. You want to get your content out there. You obviously want to book sessions, but what's the end goal of what you want to do for your blog? That has something to do with your audience and where your traffic's coming from. What kind of sessions are you booking? And actually, I think I might be getting a little ahead of myself here. We'll go back. This kind of goes in with here. What is your primary target for your client? So for this, to make my clients' everyday life easier, you would probably, if you're a family photographer, you're going to be booking the mom. The mom is going to be booking the session with you. You are going to be working on building a rapport with the moms on social media. I have that in my blogging ebook, and it has little icons, and it has all on there. Who is your target audience? Now, a lot of people will say, let's say for a boudoir, they'd be like, well, women is my target audience. What kind of woman? Because there are so many different types of women. Are you looking for a military wife? Are you looking for a bride-to-be? Are you looking for a mom who just had her baby and she's got back into shape? Like, there's so many different ways that you can really maximize figuring out who your target audience is. And you really have to go deeper onto that. Yes, you can know your gender. Yes, you can know the age type, but what kind of people are you booking? You really need to know that. If you don't know that, that is why your other parts of social media are failing. Because not using the right voice and not producing the right content for them is not helping your organic reach. And so with the blogging and knowing your right content, your right voice for your target, you would be saying, to make my clients' everyday life easier. That would be for the mom. So working backwards, and I have that in the book at the back, working backwards would be like month 12. Okay, I'm going to talk about holiday ideas for Christmas. Perfect. You could sprinkle in there some of your favorite bloggers with stuff. You could have, gift wrapping ideas. You could have, let's say you're a family photographer and you have in there, let's say you get a lot of really young kids for your families. You could have in there like the best or top 10 organic toys for the holidays. There's so many different ideas that you could do. And I really have a lot of those ideas listed in the book. You're going to get started when you have the book. You're going to have over 200 ideas just to get you started with blogging. And in there, you're going to have, let's say, I have several different areas broke down, but I really recommend when you're looking back through it, and let's say you're not a senior photographer, you might be able to kind of put some of that stuff into your family work if you just change the wording a little bit, because some of that stuff could really be beneficial to the moms in a family session. There's definitely lots of ideas. So just make sure you're really looking at all the different ideas I put out there, because with just a little bit of tweaking, you could make it work for your business. But then I go even further down. So month 11, holiday ideas for Thanksgiving. Month 10, easy and fun Halloween ideas. Month 9, fall activities. Month 8, back to school ideas. So just by doing that, you can really pinpoint, okay, this is my goal for the month. Now underneath that, I'm going to put 5 ideas, or I'm going to put 10 ideas. I want to take those top 3 ideas and I'm going to blog those top 3 ideas. Just being able to kind of think open, give yourself some, room for inspiration. What do you think your readers are going to like? What's going to be the easiest for you to kind of to produce? What content you're going to produce? And it just kind of keeps you working forward. So it's not such a catch-up game. You don't want to get into that rut where you're constantly trying to catch up. You're constantly trying to figure out what you're doing. If you get into that spot, stop, take a break, work forward, give yourself a 30-day break. Yes, your reach is going to go down, but yes, you're going to get your reach back up. I had actually just had a section of time where I was under the weather last week and I really wasn't putting content out on Facebook. And then I was not available at the very beginning of the week. And so my reach on Facebook, I'm going to be honest with you, it was awful. It was like 9,000. It was so bad. I, within having the daily fan favorites and putting out some other content, I'm back up to 30-some thousand. So you can do it. It's just a little bit of give and take and being patient and putting out content that that your readers are going to like. Credibility, again, blogging can provide a huge credibility for your business. If you are, let's say you have a person who's let's say you have a brand who found you on social media and they're like, man, I really like her storytelling. She has a really great eye. Or a boutique who's really wanting to use you for something. And let's say they found 2 photographers. They found you and they found someone else local to you. And let's say your local competition had on their an awesome blog or even just a great website. And let's say you had nothing. Now, which one, if you were the business, would you lean towards? Having a presence on multiple social media platforms is extremely incredible and extremely important for credibility. So it's just something to think about. Again, that goes back to your business goals. What kind of business goals do you have? If that's not one of your goals, then you don't need to worry about it. I also put in here talking about collaborations. It's also a really great way to get out in the community. Confidence. It's just like when you picked up your first camera. Think about how confident you were. You weren't very confident. You were practicing a lot. You were looking up tutorials all the time. Blogging is no different. You're going to have to get into a routine and you're going to have to practice and you're going to have to look up tutorials. It's just going to be exactly the same. So don't go into it thinking that you're going to be an expert right from the beginning, because you're not going to be. I talk about, again, in here, building the sale, the 70-20-10 rule. And an example of what that might look like would be post 1. And here I talk about top 10 favorite bedtime stories. Post 2 would be a must-try dinner recipe. Post 3, showing most recent client session while breaking down the family style. So that's another thing. When you're posting sessions out there, think about what else can you get out of it other than just posting the session. Could you link at the bottom to all the different places that your client got their outfit from? Businesses are looking, I promise you. I know when people link back to my business, I can see it. From Google Analytics, I can see it. So it's definitely a way to communicate and connect with other businesses without directly doing so. If you can do that with a client session, I would highly recommend it. Post 4, best apps for education. Post 5, quick and easy lunch ideas for work. Post 6, your season style guide. So 2 of those right there were still for you without directly being just for you for a sale. And then post 7, a sales pitch. I have I have mini sessions open for Easter this weekend. That sale is going to land so much better on your audience with all that other content in there, because chances are by that point, they're like, oh yeah, oh awesome, she's got something available. I promise you it's going to be helpful, but there is more in the ebook about that. I'm going to go back up here to growing to new levels. So knowing where your audience comes from, I just talked about Google Analytics, super important. If you have a blog, you need to have it on there. If you don't have a blog right now, going into your Facebook analytics is just as important. Your Facebook insights, just as important. Knowing where your audience is coming from. And that can be even like, so for me, mine's more country. Where are my countries that I'm getting my fan base from? Because that is where I'm going to be using that for my ads. But for you, it's going to be more local. It's going to be which cities are my readers coming from. That's going to help you, if you have a business that you're marketing, that's going to help you market better to know which cities you're bringing your revenue in from. Super, super important. How would you envision a blog for your brand? So just thinking now, after you get off here, jot down some ideas. Like, how could you use your blog to build a brand for you? What kind of things would you be even interested in? And then maybe researching that and just seeing, is that feasible? Can I do that? Is that something that I can obtain? Maybe not now, but maybe I can obtain it by the end of the year. Just giving yourself some goals to set and figuring out what kind of blog you want to have, what kind of content you want to produce. Again, do you want to be known as the photographer in the area that produces super awesome content that moms and families can go to get inspiration from their daily lives? Because I can tell you that would be pretty awesome. I don't have any photographers around here in my area that are doing that. And then list 3 ways that you could improve your business. And I obviously pulled up my old PDF. I'm sorry, I have a little Z right there. 3 ways that you could improve your business with a blog. So again, just thinking off the cuff, what are some ways that you could improve your business? And that maybe could be like goals that you might have for yourself or dreams. Like, I want to be able to take 3 less sessions. I want to be able to produce enough content on here that I could not have to take more sessions. I want to be able to work with a bigger brand. I want to do, I have an awesome boutique locally. I want to produce such amazing content that they want to collaborate with me. And so it's just about what you want. Nobody else can really decide that for you. But it's definitely something, again, it goes back to your goals. What kind of goals do you have? And being super honest with yourself. So back down to here, knowing your primary target, super important. What sessions are your most popular? So again, making you have to think here a little bit. If you are in business, what sessions are you booking? And is that what you want to be booking? Sometimes photographers get in that rut where, and a lot within the group have this problem. I say problem, it's really not a problem. It's just an issue. It's just learning how to really work your business to your advantage. But I take family sessions, but nobody wants lifestyle sessions. Nobody wants documentary sessions. Okay, so that goes back to knowing your marketing and being able to tweak your marketing in a way that you can help gently guide your clientele that direction. So that also is super important if you are, let's say you do families and weddings. Maybe you don't want to be doing weddings, but you're booking a ton of weddings. So how can you look at what your sessions are popular? Are those what you want to be your popular sessions? And thinking, how can you change that? How can you make that change maybe over the next year? Again, look at who's booking that type of session. Is that the demographic that you want? And could you change that demographic for more business? So just back on the boudoir factor. Okay, yeah, I'm booking boudoirs. I'm just booking a lot of military, or let's say you're booking just brides to be, a lot of engagement type stuff. But you live like 30 minutes from a base. Think about that potential that you could be missing right there. Just by tweaking it a little bit, not dumping your brides to be, because let's say it's a really lucrative business point for you, but think about how much more you could break open that part of your business by tweaking your blog ideas and content just a little bit. Again, these are all things just to kind of think about. If you're not wanting this for your business, then it doesn't matter. But I know there's a lot of people out there in business who do want to be able to get new, different, and or different price point of people, because every different niche is a little bit different of a price point. So it's just important, and you're just ideas here to lay out for you to think about. And does your demographic align with these sessions? So again, making sure it's the person. If you're producing content for 20-year-olds and you're booking 45-year-olds, probably need to put content out there for 45-year-olds. Just making sure that you're producing the right kind of content. And then that's the end of second quarter, but I want to kind of go through the rest of my ebook here. I've been talking a lot. Does anybody have any direct questions on any of that? And I'm going to kind of go through a little bit more here. Again, I don't want to go too deep in the ebook, but it does talk about copy that you want to use. I see so often where people, no questions here. Okay, great. I have so many people that I see that will just post, for an example, they'll say, one last time slot open for this weekend's minis. These kids are going to look so cute. That's not very sales pitchy. It's not very it's very sales pitchy. It's not very connecting. Whereas if you just change that copy a little bit, and I have in here I have it literally laid out for you on what to put. It will help you change, I promise, your engagement rate, because people are not only going to be connecting with the post, they're going to be connecting with your copy. Even if they're not interested in booking with you, they're going to be liking it. They're going to be loving the different engagements on there with Facebook. They might comment on the thing, which is then going to be like this big wheel that gets going, that once they start liking it, then, their friends are going to see it, and their friends might want to book a session with you. So, sorry, apparently the world's ending out here. I don't know if you can hear that. So I talk in detail about that, knowing obviously what are your engagement times. I have that in the book as well, talking about engagement times, optimal times that you should be posting, and then how to blog efficiently. Big thing. That's what we talked about a lot. Having a schedule, doing bulk drafts, copying and pasting. That for me is huge. Copying and pasting where I can is such an important tool. You'll think, well, it's really not helping me, but it is, because you could potentially, and I have it in here, if you blogged, so let's say it says, relatively speaking, blogging doesn't take a huge amount of time. So anywhere that you can shave off time is valuable. Let's say on average, a blog post takes you 30 minutes. If you were able to shave 5 minutes off with shortcuts, that would save you 16% of your blogging rate. Another example, if you blog 3 times a week and were able to save 5 minutes during each blog post, over the course of a month, that would save you an hour of your time. So really just thinking about where you could be gaining, just making your business run more efficiently, making it run for you. And let's see here. And I talk about all that. I show you how to do shortcuts. I show you what copying and pasting tools are the most efficient and effective for me. I talk about programs. So this is a great example. I used to use GoToMeetings for my meetings, and they were quite pricey. They had some things that were fantastic, but there has been new competition that's come up in the market, and now I use Zoom meetings. They are a fraction of the cost. GoToMeetings was like $52 something, and this is $15. It gives me back portion of my marketing that I can use in other areas. So it's always important with these programs, making sure that you need it, making sure it's at a time in your business that you need it. Is there a free trial period to be able to use it? Because I've gotten into plenty of businesses that I've tried, and they just have not fit my business needs. Making sure there isn't another service out there that's for free. And there's lots of other tips here. So I don't want to go too far into it if it's not something you're interested into. But again, programs for shortcuts, I talk about that. And really just the biggest thing is knowing your demographic. I cannot preach that enough. Knowing who you're talking to, knowing what your people are finding relevant in their life, and making something valuable to them. Because if they don't value something, they're not going to pay for it. And that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. People get so frustrated when they say, well, this client just went and bought this $600 purse. Why can she not buy a session from me? Because you haven't made it needed to her yet. You haven't made it valuable to her yet. And as soon as you start putting the pieces together with your whole social media and marketing and blogging, they're going to start seeing the relevancy and the importance of you, not just your art, but of you. I guarantee you, if you start putting content out there for that mom that makes her life easier and brings inspiration somehow in her daily life, that's going to start connecting those dots for her. And it's going to make that relationship so much easier for her to want to then book a session with you. So I think we've hit quite a bit here. So really, I would highly recommend, I'm going to put this in the blog. I really want you to print this out. Think about what we talked about today, figuring out, do you know your why? Do you know what you want from your business? Are you getting what you want from your business? And how can you change that to have a more effective, efficient, and business that you love? Because really, that's what is the most important thing at the end of the day. So I really appreciate you guys joining me today. And I can spend some more time on here if anybody did have any questions. I know that the blogging stuff, good. I'm glad you liked it, Ashley. Sometimes you put stuff together and you're like, oh, I hope it's effective. I hope it's, information that you could use. I know. It's so, Liz, is it okay, Liz or Elizabeth? I know it says Elizabeth, but Elizabeth. Liz. Okay. I have a Liz teacher. Yeah, it is. It is so much to think about. But again, like I said, what is it that you want? Because some of this stuff isn't, and it could be, that could be stuff that you want to talk about and you want to do in your business in a year. And that's okay. That's okay to have that goal. It's okay to give yourself that grace to say, I don't have time to do this right now. I just don't. But I want to. How can I do that? You could put the goal out for yourself for in a year, I'm going to get started. Now that's kind of a long time, but let's say you have a move in there and maybe you're pregnant, you're going to have a baby, and some things, just life is busy. I get it. A more reasonable goal for yourself would be 3 to 6 months. But let's just say you could be building content now. April, yes, exactly. I'm just getting started trying to decide where I want to go. Yes, exactly. So let's say while you're thinking about that, if you know this is my niche that I'm in, this is the kind of content I need to produce, you can kind of be like soft writing some blog posts so that when you get ready and you have your platform ready, you have content there. You could tweak it a little bit, make it nice for the blog post, but you have content that is there. I'm going to throw in one more tip. And this is something that I know a lot of people worry about. I don't have anything to write about. It is a big thing. People really struggle with it. And really, when you struggle with something, it's kind of hard not to see that from the outside. And sometimes you just have to go for it. You just have to wing it. And it's awkward, and it is, and you just have to own it, and you just move forward. Because you're just going to get better. You're going to get better at writing, and things like that just happen. But if you can help yourself from failing in certain areas, it's always nice to give yourself a little crutch. A thing to do. If you are a business owner and you have a session, you could keep a little notebook in your car, in your camera bag, or have an electronic, note on your phone where you think about what are the top 5 things that just happened from that session. Boom, you're done. You have your writing that you need from your blog post moving forward. You don't have to think, because if you're like me, I have so much going on in my life right now. I can't remember what I did last week, let alone what happened, intimate details in a session. So give yourself some information going forward so that you can think back, oh yeah, that little girl did that. That was so cute. I bet the mom didn't even catch it. And if you are doing sales, I promise you that kind of connection that you're leading back to your client is going to help you on the sales front. Now that's a big, big can of worms I'm not going to go into today, but it really all does connect. Being able to build that emotional connection, which then goes forward to either booking a session, rebooking a session, making sales from that session. And you can even do this with your own personal stuff. As you're shooting, sit down. And I really loved it. One thing I did when my husband was he was in Guatemala for a year. And one thing I did was I journaled to him every day. It was probably one of the most enjoyable things I did. I just did it every night. And it's really neat to be able to look back. So I don't know. It's something that you could add to your business. It's something that's really fun. Yes, I'm struggling with how to blog more than just a session recap. It's hard, but that example I just gave you is one great way. Having little stories, because we are storytellers. So having little stories, little intimate moments that you could have. There is in my blogging, so for you ladies that are the annual members that you're going to be able to go back and look at content, look at my blogging book, and I have in there some stuff. It's more towards the end, but I do have in there about like images going together. I probably will have that. My goal for moving forward is to have a class every month on top of what's going on. I know some people really want to have more of the business end of stuff, and that's really what I like. So I really want to be able to putting out there, like using Pinterest for your business, how to use that more efficiently, and, you know, being able to write a better blog post, lay out a better blog post. There's, you know, in my blogging ebook from this quarter, I have in there how to blog in under 30 minutes. So it's definitely something you want to check out. Definitely something. It talks to you about how to be, some of those shortcuts. This ebook, I think, is more elaborate than obviously than that. It's a 20-page PDF, but it definitely is packed full of information. It has in there some image layouts, how to lay out your images to make them more pleasing to the eye. But there is definitely some information there that would probably be helpful for you as well. But yeah, I mean, really just use the group, because that's what we're going to be here for, figuring out, you know, what works for you. But I can't put enough praises upon Google or even having like a hard bound. I don't ever buy calendars because I'm really bad about writing stuff down, but even with the 365, it's been super helpful. I'm going to open one up here. Yeah, like I'm actually doing really well at writing it down. So I've been putting down like even the day. I've been even, it's going to be really bright, maybe. I've even been putting down like the 365 day. So I know, like when I'm building stuff for you guys, I know what day I'm on. But even in here, I'm putting in here, I'm writing what kind of content I want to put out there. So just having some stuff down that you can connect with and hold yourself accountable is always kind of nice too. And just doing it. You just kind of have to jump in, because it's one of those things where you could really overthink it to the point where you just never start. And I'm bad about that too. So any other questions? Because if not, I'm going to jump off here and get ready to go get my kids, get ready to start the weekend. Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. I hope it was useful. I hope it was something that, yeah, you too. You too. It's going to be great. It's like 70 here. So it should be super nice. I'm hoping the weekend it's going to have some rain, but 70 and rainy is so much better than, yeah, so it'd be nice. Lots of snow. That stinks. That stinks. Super, super welcome. Oh, thank you, April. Thanks. It was a while. Yeah, it will be, Paula. I'll upload it. I'll upload it. You'll have availability. Make sure you download it before next week. Yeah. Yeah, be great. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I will put links in the group of where to get this stuff. See ya.